The Kaffelogic Nano 7 is a super precise and consistent coffee roaster. The only thing you have to take care in this kind of machine is the airflow or the calibration of the airflow. So if ever there are any issues with the machines, for example, if roasts are very inconsistent, if they have scorching or whatever, it's in most cases an issue with the calibration of the fan. And that's what we are going to have a look at in this video. In order to do a perfect fan calibration, you need to have the most actual firmware on your roasting machine. And this is actually something I, in any case, recommend you to always keep the firmware updated to the newest version. The firmware updates, they can have some updates when it comes to the handling of the machine, to the quality of the roast. It has safety updates and many more. And these updates are really simple to do. So if you had the older version of the machine with the USB stick, you just put your USB stick in your computer, start Kaffelogic Studio, press on the little USB icon, and then the software tells you that there is a new firmware, loads the firmware to your USB stick. You take your USB stick, put it in the machine, and then while turning on the machine, you just keep the middle button with this little play icon pressed. And like that, the newest firmware will be loaded to your machine. If you have the newer version with this USB cable, it's even easier. You just connect the roaster with your computer, start the Kaffelogic Studio software, and then there will be a pop-up telling you there is the newest firmware. You just need to press OK, and then the system loads the newest firmware to your machine and restarts it so that everything is installed. So I would really recommend you, if you haven't done it yet, to stop this video shortly, update your firmware, and then go on with the video. When it comes to calibration or calibration issues, nearly all the issues I experienced so far, they have to do with an upgrade from the old to the new Chaff Collector of the machine. Previously, the Kaffelogic Nano was shipped with this plastic mesh Chaff Collector with this tube in it. But the newer versions of the Nano 7 are shipped with this glass Chaff Collector. They have a double-walled Pyrex glass Chaff Collector. It has this little cup for the chaffs. It's really a step up. It's a nice Chaff Collector where you can see the roast. Therefore, a lot of people that previously worked with the old Chaff Collector bought the new one and then upgraded their machine with the new Chaff Collector. What we've experienced in the last months is that when you change from the old to the new Chaff Collector, and the airflow is a little bit different, and the airflow needs to be adapted. Usually for many people, it still worked really well with the roast. They had really nice roast, but then when the issues showed up was when they were, for example, using different roasting profiles that were pushing the fan a little bit more, or very often when people started to use the boost kit, because the boost kit is then pushing the fan. So they had bad experience with the boost kit and were then actually a bit frustrated with the boost kit, while actually the issue didn't come from the boost kit, but from the calibration that would be needed when you change from the old to the new Chaff Collector. Also, just to prevent misunderstanding, if your machine directly came with the new Chaff Collector, then it has been perfectly calibrated to this new Chaff Collector, so there is no need for you to change it. This is really only for people that previously worked with the old Chaff Collector and then changed to the new one. These people should step up the fan calibration by 0.06 points. And now I'm going to show you how this is being done. Now you keep the plus and minus button pressed while you switch on your machine. And then you're in the calibration menu. There you have several options, but please don't touch any of those. The only one you can touch is the fan at 40,700 RPM setting. There is another one, legacy RPM. Please don't touch this one. Really only go to the fan at 40,700 RPM setting. Press the middle button. Now you see here a value. In my case, 0.89 can be a different value in your case. But this one you're stepping up by pressing the plus button 6 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then you press the middle button to save. And then you press the middle button again to save again. And what you should do is write down the value that has been before and also the value that is now in your display, just to make sure you save them for later. Now you switch off the machine, and when you switch it on again, your machine is ready with the new calibration setting. This will most probably solve most of the issues when it comes to calibration. Nevertheless, there can be also other factors that influence the calibration of your machine, like environmental factors, the altitude where you are at, or some more. And if you want to be sure that the calibration of your machine is nice, or if you want to adapt it, then I'm going to explain you now how this is being done. What you need is 120 grams of green coffee beans. This should be quite standard. This should be quite an average standard bean. So do not take any special beans like monsoon malabars or robustas or decafs or pea berries or particularly large or small or very hard or very soft beans. Beans that are working very well are, for example, standard naturals from Brazil or just a really average bean. So you have two functions in the Kaffelogic Nano. You have one function where you can just check your calibration. So there you cannot change anything, but also you cannot make any faults. You can just go in this step and then have a look at the calibration. If you see it's nice, then you don't need to do anything with your machine. If you realize, no, it's not really perfect, then you can go to the next step and change the calibration of your machine. So first I'm going to show you how you can check the calibration of your machine. Now you switch on your roaster. You choose the Kaffelogic Classic roasting profile. And then once you have chosen the Kaffelogic Classic, you press on the 5th button. Here you can see, press the middle button, the play button now for fan preview. So you press this one here. Then you can choose the amount of beans that are in your machine. So here you choose the 120 grams. Then you can look into the roasting chamber through the glass, or if you have the old Chaff Collector, you put away the lid and look from the top down.
Now, look at the bean circulation. The beans should be circulating gently. Pay particularly close attention to the beans in the middle, which should be slowly turning over.
If you realize your machine needs to be calibrated, then there is a process that the Kaffelogic team has prepared for you, and I'm now going to put it in this video.
This is a walkthrough on how to recalibrate your Kaffelogic Nano 7 roaster. To start, weigh out 120 grams of green coffee and load it into your roaster. Put your Chaff Collector on the roaster, and now hold down the plus and minus buttons while you turn the roaster on. This will take you into calibration mode. Press the menu button until you see the text that reads, "Press start now for fan at 14,700 RPM. Then press start to select it. This will start the fan. The display will now show fan at 14,700. If it does not, turn the roaster off and start again. Now, look at the bean circulation. The beans should be circulating gently. Pay particularly close attention to the beans in the middle, which should be slowly turning over. Use the plus and the minus buttons to alter the fan speed until the beans in the middle just start to circulate. Try and match the flow of coffee in your roaster to the video as closely as possible. Once you are happy with the flow of coffee, press the start button twice to save the setting. The display will briefly show saved. Now, turn the roaster off to exit calibration mode. Turn it back on and give it a test roast.
I hope this video was helpful for you. If you have some more questions, then always come back to me. But mostly I wish you a lot of fun and success roasting with your Kaffelogic Nano roaster.